what we're seeing is this leaky gut, this permeability, this allowing of certain things to sneak into the body that shouldn't be sneaking into the body, including bacterium, including viruses, including food particles. You know, this causes inflammation. And when the gut is leaky due to multiple signals, the brain barrier becomes leaky, and we allow more toxins and substances in the human body that we don't want in the brain, that can actually damage the brain tissue.
So what is the blood-brain barrier, right? It's an extremely important, complicated wall, okay? It's a barrier, it's a wall between brain tissue and your blood. And certain things are allowed through because your body's programmed to allow certain things to go through. Other things are not supposed to go through. When things make it through the blood-brain barrier that aren't supposed to, the brain's immune system goes on red alert. And when your brain's immune system gets fired up, that's tricky because your brain's immune system doesn't really have a brake pedal to shut it all off. So you get this thing called neuroinflammation.
And the most common and well-documented toxins for doing this would be mercury. It's a very strong glutamate system stimulator. Mold toxins do this very strongly. We suspect that a lot of the Lyme toxins do this. And one of the new sort of cast of characters in the toxins is glyphosate or Roundup, and that's shown to be an excitotoxin.
Children with autism, they have peculiar lesions that are indicative of stagnation of liquid inside the brains, inflammation, and loss of connectivity. Let's not forget that the brain is in a closed cavity. The skull cannot expand. So if there is an increased volume of liquid, then this liquid exerts a pressure, and this pressure makes the connections between neurons more difficult to be achieved. So the neurons are distant from each other. The lymph coming from the nose, throat, mouth, and ears arrives in these cervical nodes and engorges them. They become clogged. And if they become clogged, now the problem is very hydraulic, because if they become clogged, it means that the lymph coming from the brain cannot drain. It remains there. It remains there and it accumulates. And since the lymph is supposed to get rid of all the waste, to get rid of toxins, to get rid of heavy metals if they're there, to get rid of viruses, to get rid of dead cells, products of metabolism. And if all this doesn't happen and the lymph accumulates in the brain, of course you cannot expect anything good.
So when the kids are stuck in these constant inflammatory cycles, that's making them constant toxin accumulators. And that's mostly why these toxins build up in these kids. We need to control the creatures in the GI tract, and we need to seal up the GI tract so we're not leaking these inflammagens. I really like that word. Compounds that inflame. We're not leaking inflammagens into the system. We work on systemic infections and we lower the inflammation from them, and then we can add in more traditional anti-inflammatories.